Hello, and welcome to Witty Woman Podcast. I am your host, DaNae Sweet, and this is episode 118. Today, I am sharing an interview that I got to do with Dusty Dionne of the Aquarium Tabernacle Church, which is a Wiccan church, and I am telling you, I learned so much from speaking with him. I have a fire lit under my ass as far as like activism and giving back to my community, like here, even though they're like don't like me very much. I would like to figure out a way to show them that pagans are people, for one, and that we can help support a community and that we are beautiful people, right? So I have all kinds of ideas swimming around in my head because of this interview, and I am so grateful that I feel like this had to have been some kind of divine intervention, because I was looking for this piece of my spiritual puzzle, and it's just, you're gonna love it. But first, let's go ahead and do some smoke clearing. Today I am using rosemary. All right. I'm old school and I use matches. All right, so get in my mic, the computer, my area, myself, clearing out all the yucky, stagnant energy so we can have a good conversation today. Next, let's get out some cards. This is from the Spellcasting Oracle deck. For some reason, my shuffling skills suck today, so bear with me. All right, let's draw. I'm going to cut 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and here's our card. It is the Truth card. So, all right, so this card to me means being able to handle and to process others projecting their truths onto you. And this is something everyone deals with in their lifetime, pretty much on and off all the time, because we're going to deal with people who aren't self-aware, who don't understand that they're doing that, and we're going to do it to other people unknowingly as well. And in a world where everything is very polarized at the moment and everybody has a very strong, passionate opinion about everything, which is good and bad, but this card is letting you know, hey, don't let every word someone says to you, like, don't let that go to heart, because don't take everything to heart, because it's likely their truth they're projecting onto you, and it's making you feel like shit. So, firm boundaries with relationships, with workplace relationships, and family is very, very important right now. And then being able to acknowledge, okay, well, they're just projecting, and it is what it is, and if they want help, awesome. If they don't let this ruin your week. Speak your truth mindfully and respectfully, and hopefully others will follow suit. Okay, so that was the card advice for the week. I want to thank everybody so much that has joined the coven lately, and for all current members, I love you guys so much, and that group means the world to me. It's where we all can get like complete and unjudgmental support and love from each other. And I want to say, like, seriously, there are a lot of people in that group. I don't know, like 150 or 60, I can't remember for sure, but we don't have conflicts for the most part in that group, and everything is very respected. Everybody's opinion is heard and respected, and I want to say thank you so much for that, because that makes a lot easier on myself and the admins of the group to moderate and make sure everybody is, having a good time in the group. So thank you so much for being such kind, beautiful people. The book club, I think their first meeting is going to be on the 15th in the WW Coven. Yes, this is an exclusive event for the Coven. We're reading American Brujeria by J. Allen Cross. I cannot remember how many chapters you have to read by the 15th, but it's all in the events section of the group. Click on events. You'll see the book club meeting and all of the information listed there if you would like to join that. I also want to say thank you to my admins. This makes my existence online so much easier to handle. So thank you for Taryn and Becca and DaNae for helping me out and helping the groups out. You guys are invaluable. Also, thank you to Becca for helping me with social media stuff. She's an amazing creator, so I want to say thank you so much. Like seriously, that's cut so much work out of my week that is priceless. And thank you for DaNae for doing the Reiki, the group Reiki that's going to be in the Coven Citrine group on Saturday. That's part of the quarterly benefits for that group. Thank you so much, DaNae, for doing the Reiki. And if you guys are interested in distance Reiki and you're not in the group, try to look her up on Instagram, Lunasoul Oracle. And Becca, who also does tarot readings and all kinds of amazing healing modalities as well. She is Phoenix Fire Tarot _222 on Instagram as well. And I guess I should actually say the whole account for Lunasoul for DaNae. It's Lunasoul _Oracle on Instagram. And then we have another quarterly benefit in that same group on Friday. Calum Turner of Fortune by Calum on Instagram is doing a intro to tarot class. So we're going to have history of tarot, the types, and basic information to get you started. And I'm so very excited for that because I'm a history nerd and cannot wait to hear what he has to say. If you are interested in any of these benefits or are curious about the Coven, go to witchywomanpodcast.com and click on Join the Coven. All of the information will be, as soon as you click Join the Coven, all of the options for membership will be in there. And I don't charge much. $1 to $10 will get you into the Coven and all of the benefits we have in there. Okay. Oh, and Taryn. I don't know how to put it into words. Taryn and I went to high school together, and she is the most beautiful soul I have contact with. We had a very different childhood and different 20s and stuff, but as we got older, our paths definitely have crossed and stayed parallel, even though I have a different spirituality sometimes than she does. Definitely my soul sister. And I want to say thank you so much, Taryn, for being there for me, even when I know afterwards that you were going through something at the same time and just was there for me. So I appreciate you more than words could ever express. Thank you. I love you. Okay, so now that I'm done doing the mushy shit and I've babbled on for 8 minutes, let's get on with the interview with Dusty Dionne of the ATC. Okay, so what is the name? What is your name? Introduce yourself. And what is the church that you're at?
My name is Right Reverend Dusty Dionne, Archpriest of the Aquarium Tabernacle Church.
Ooh, that sounds important.
It technically is. You don't hear me talk about it too much on TikTok because we believe that he who stands in the middle of the room yelling, I am king, is no king. So we keep our nose down and do the work.
Yep, which makes sense.
But the Aquarium Tabernacle Church is a foundational, I would even go as far as to say keystone pagan church in America, in politics and in civil rights. We started in 1979, and by 1999, we were one of the 3 groups that sued the government for the Pentacle tombstone.
Nice.
We had helped another man sue the government in the case of the USS Chandler, where he was pagan and deployed on a ship. And they said, you can go to church with all the other Christians. And he said, oh, no, I want a circle. And they said, absolutely not. And he was like, oh, okay. And so we helped him win that case. Nice. We also run the only Wiccan seminary with state recognized degree granting authority to give legal degrees in Wiccan ministry. And we even have a government issue .edu website, wiccanseminary.edu.
That is so
My
awesome.
wonderful partner is next to me and she's about to get a call. So that's what that was.
No problem.
Oh, you're okay. So, but yeah, we have .edu status from the government. So that's wiccanseminary.edu. We also, the ATC is, or was, one of the main people that got, or one of the main groups that got prisons to recognize Wicca. Like we blew the door open on Wiccan prison ministries. And a quick aside, you know, we want to pretend like freedom of religion is absolute in this country. And you're welcome to think whatever you want. But if you are actually in need of the services of your religion, say in the military or in prison, that takes years and years and years of foundational work to get them to recognize you. You don't just get to wear a pentacle inside of the prison. That could be contraband and you might kill someone with it, you know, so it has to be approved. And so the ATC has worked tirelessly to get those things approved.
That is amazing.
That is what the ATC is. That's who I am.
That is, all of that is, that's a lot. That's like huge, a lot.
So the biggest thing that I didn't even tell you is that we have very unique paperwork with not only within witchcraft, but just basically in America. We have what's called a religious group exemption. Okay. So before we obtained our religious group exemption, the government would keep you wrapped up in red tape so that you couldn't get a church legalized.
Right.
They'd send you back copies saying, refill this out. So our leader, and you can find this on my TikTok, I actually talk about this on one of my things, that he'd send back second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt, fifth attempt at the top until it was like 112th attempt, 113th attempt. Woo. And he found someone who was Hindu, got a hold of his stuff and approved it after the 100-something attempt. But it gave us a thing called a religious group exemption, which allows us to make churches, legal churches with their own EIN number under us. They don't have to go through the IRS. They just go through us. It's the same designation that the Mormon Temple has and that the Vatican has here in America. We also have what's called a soul corp, which are not in existence anymore. You can't get them. We're grandfathered in, which means we have a true hierarchy because we have a board of directors of one.
Oh, wow.
So one person gets to say yes, no.
Right. That is amazing that this country.
Sorry, I just all the info out.
That's a lot of stuff. And so we were talking about the Navy. When I was actually in the Navy in the long ago. And because when you fill out all of your information about religious stuff at the time I was in, to put on your dog tags. That's part of why. So if you like go overseas or somewhere and you pass away, they know what burial rites, how to treat your body. Right. And I had no option for my faith. So I actually picked Catholic because, to be honest, a lot of their religious ceremonies are super close to, except the theology aside. I'm like, well, that's the closest thing I could pick. So that's what I picked because I didn't have a choice. So that's really cool that they do have a choice now.
My wife's a veteran, Navy veteran.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
She's a corpsman.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing and very important job to be doing.
She was stateside. My wife's 17 years older than me. She was stateside during Desert Storm 1 as she worked as head of supply for Charleston Naval Hospital.
Oh, wow. Wow. So I was in after Desert Storm. I was in before 9/11. And I'm a computer nerd, technically. So I did nerdy stuff while I was in the Navy. But I love the work that you're doing. I think it's so important. I see mostly on social media, I see what the Satanic Temple is doing for religious like body autonomy and that sort of thing. So I think it's important that people know the work that your organization has been doing for years, and how they can be a part of it. So I will make sure all of you guys' links, the church, everything will be in the show notes and in my group, so that if somebody's like, hey, I want to know more about that, they can go and look at it. So
we also have a national children's program
what?
called Spiral Scouts.
Really?
I don't know if you've heard of Spiral Scouts or not, but
I have
you
not.
brought up the Satanic Temple, and we are getting ready to start partnering with, I can't remember if it's the Temple of Satan or the Satanic Temple, which neither of them really worship the devil. We all know that.
No,
but,
yeah, we know that.
They want to hook up with us to start using our children's program as their children's program, because our motto is training the future stewards of the earth. It's a scouting program that doesn't militarize our youth. It trains them to take care of the planet. Yeah.
That is, if you have links to that specifically, I know there's a lot of my listeners that would be very, very interested.
There's a Spiral Scout TikTok.
Oh, really? Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Where can they find, is it like at Spiral Scouts or something like that on TikTok?
Yeah, and it's one word, and that's spiralscouts.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just writing all this down because this is great resources for everybody that's listening, especially those that really want to be a part of something and part of change, which who doesn't, right? We need change right now so badly. So
we do a lot of work with Persephone.
Do you? Queen.
Goddess of change.
Yep, queen of change. So how did you, I want to know, like, how did this calling happen for you?
That's a long story.
Okay, maybe the abridged version. We don't want to take up the whole time because I feel like you need to have a book out about all of this.
Right on. So I'm the oldest child of children, basically. My parents were very young. And so when you are that, you end up being more of a confidant than a child in a lot of ways, because the young parents don't know how to deal with that. So I grew up helping people just my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was also a wild child. I was a blonde-haired bubble goth, just a bubblehead, blonde hair. My bangs dyed different colors, wearing big pants, going to industrial shows in Cleveland, you know. But I've always been a pagan, and I've always been a hippie. The very first time, I guess I've been a freak. Hippies are what the normies called us. I was a freak.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect.
So I went with a friend when I was very young. I met a kid that told me he didn't believe in God, he believed in angels. And so I was like, I have to know everything about you, because that doesn't make sense to my 5-year-old brain. Right. And then it turned out his mom is a woman named Reverend Lilith Three Feathers, who's freaking awesome. And so she took me to my first event, which was a solstice event or an equinox event, where we went out at 4:00 in the morning in the dark into the woods to this place that opens up, and it's this big bowl that you stand around, like this big grassy hill bowl. Mm-hmm. And we sang up the sun for that morning. And I felt the revelry. I had been going to church my whole life, and I was told I would feel the revelry when I saw God. Yeah. And I felt the revelry in that moment. And I was like, this is God. God is the sun. God is the earth. God is all around me. And I started pursuing that. Fast forward to being 21 years old. I'm drunk as a skunk at pagan spirit gathering, standing in the middle of the crossroads, and I cussed out Goddess and told her she didn't give me a teacher. I was quitting. Oh. I took 100 steps and I met Bella, which is my wife and the archpriestess now of the Aquarium Tabernacle Church.
Oh, that is beautiful. Love that. I love when spirits like, okay, here, you asked for it. Here you go.
I always say that Goddess, Spirit always gives us what we need, and if we're really bad, they'll give us what we ask for.
Oh, that needs to be a sign that I put up in my living room for all of us to like stare at when we're being a bit much.
Yeah, right.
That is awesome. So was she a part of this movement as far as the organizations and the legalization at that time?
So this is 2004 is when I met Bella. So, I mean, really the door of paganism had been kicked open years before that at this point.
Yep.
But no, the cool thing about the Aquarium Tabernacle Church is that it is an organizational body that helps give big church resources to small churches.
Okay.
Right. So it has an affiliate network that spans the globe. I mean, we're in Australia and we're in Ireland and we're in Canada and we used to be in Mexico, but that jerk left to take care of impoverished children. She did leave to take care of impoverished children, but we just support that. So anyway, but we're all over the world.
Right.
And my wife had just affiliated with the Aquarium Tabernacle Church as an affiliate church. She had her own church, but she reaffiliated under the Aquarium Tabernacle Church because she believed in their mission and what they were doing. And she was already running a thing called Wise Seminary, and Wise Seminary had degree granting authority. It was as legal as Wiccan Seminary. It didn't have a .edu website because those are actually gone. You can't get one anymore. We're grandfathered in because we have one. But when I met her, she was just one of the priestesses within the ATC doing the work. And the great thing about the ATC is that as a hierarchy, it chooses its successor, right? And that person leads the church forever, like the Pope, but we don't have that kind of say over witchcraft, you know. Right. The government listens to us really well because they look at our paperwork and go, that's very legitimate, right? I actually killed a bill one time in Georgia called SB 129. We were talking about the Satanic Temple. I kind of took a note out of their playbook. People wrote me, said, we need to get rid of this bill. They're going to use it to stop people from being able to make cakes for gay people. That's like what the bill was for, was to expand religion so wide that they could say no. Right?
Yeah.
But it also expanded it so wide that it said that they had to let anyone out of jail that hadn't broken a crime that wasn't directly about their religion. Like if they said, this is my religion, and they're like, no, go to jail, they had to be let out. And I ended up writing every senator and House of Representative and their aide in Congress and told them that we appreciated them making Georgia the first truly Wiccan state because they had expanded the law so much. And then I went through and listed all the things we would be doing, including naked rituals in parks, and that they'd have to change the tax code for polyamorous marriage. Yep. And then the Atlanta Journal-Constitution writes this article. This is the whole reason I told you this story.
Okay.
They write this article that is entitled, if this is a hoax, it's a good one. The Aquarium Tabernacle Church is real, people. And then it broke down our paperwork.
Wow.
And was like, these people are real, and they're yeah. So they tabled the bill.
So cool.
It's the coolest thing I've ever done. I've done some cool things. That's the coolest thing I've ever done.
I love when spiritual leaders are passionate about leaving the earth better and being active about it. Combining activism and spirituality, I think, is so important. So that we have, religious. I live in the middle of like conservative, very Christian. I live in a town that's like got 200 people, and we have 9 Christian churches here. So yes. So I'm odd. Like last night I was in my yard doing my Beltane stuff, like just vibing, and people are like driving by watching the fire. Like, what the hell is she doing in her yard? So I feel like people like your organization and the work that you do are making it easier for people like me that are in the middle of nowhere to have a resource. So, and I've been looking for something. We have what we call, I think 2 hours away, there's a Unity Church, which accepts everybody, but it's still not my cup of tea. Like, I still don't, that's not it. So it would be really cool to be able to have some kind of affiliate or something out here, even if it was connected to, the one in Lincoln, so that we could have a place to gather. I think that would
affiliate other churches.
If
you're someone who feels a calling to open up said organization,
right,
we will open that door for you.
Wow.
That is part of why we're here.
That is so cool. So cool. I had no idea that this was, I thought that that all of the, like the Church of Satan or the satanic, whatever they are, the church, they don't actually, I want to, anybody that's listening that's new, you know that they don't actually worship the quote unquote Satan, right? I want to clear that up right away.
Those are Luciferians.
Yes.
Luciferians worship Lucifer.
Yes.
Satanists worship man for the most part.
Worship man because Satan is a Christian construct. Okay. I get a lot of that because if I talk about the Satanic Temple, they're like, "Oh my God!" But they worship the devil, and
they just did what Jesus did.
Yes.
They said, it says here that the Messiah is going to ride into town on a donkey, and so Jesus was like, "I'm on a donkey," and so the Church of Satan was like, "Oh, Satan's going to take down this church? Well, this church is being pretty terrible, so I guess we'll be Satan."
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that they do amazing work as well. And there needs to be more organizations like the Aquarium Tabernacle and them to keep pushing this because like places like this, my neck of the woods, like they would love to burn me. Like that kind of hate for people like me. And I do have pagan friends that live in the area and it would be really cool to have a place to gather and not feel alone. Like solitary practice, I love it. I love my practice, but I'm getting to an age, I'm old now. I'm getting to the age where I've lost that need to be independent and, only have my own practice to me and want to share it. So I may have to do some mulling around in my brain about that.
I think that a lot of us are independent. And if we were people that just followed blindly, we'd still be at Christian church.
Absolutely.
So, and not to say that all Christians follow blindly, but we're told in this society to just be Christian. So if we were followers, we'd just be Christian.
Yep.
Without thought.
Yep.
But I think that, and I've kind of always understood this, but there's a lot of young pagans, and I'm not even 40 yet. I'm still years from 40. So.
Oh, I'm over.
Right on. That's cool. Yeah, I told you my wife's 17 years older than me. Age is whatever. But but I don't think the young pagans understand how much one day they're gonna want a pagan institution that will help you with your light bill because they get enough donations, or will give you food because you don't have food, or will give you a building, or will give you protection from abusive local governments.
Yes.
And that takes like money.
Yes.
And I know that people don't want to give money to anything nowadays, which is cool. I understand. We're all broke. They've destroyed our
nation,
faith in our electorate system and in our money. I mean, on both sides of all fences, they have done their best to muck it up.
Yes.
But we can't run it without certain things. Mm-hmm. The reason that there aren't more places like us is because let's say that I'm Billy McPagan and I go up and I say, I want to start a church or I want to start a circle and I want you to official or make my circle official. The government official will look at his page and go, circle's not on this paper, so no. Right. And they'll be like, but I don't want a church. And they say, oh, that's okay because we don't officiate or make circles official. We only make churches official. Right. And the pagans dig their heels in and they go, I'm not playing by your rules, Dad. And then they go, okay. And they don't give you they don't legitimize you because we're very proud people.
Yes.
I had a Native American man. I went to Parliament of World Religions to present this ritual called the Demeter's Garden, where we talked about how the goddess wants us all to start planting our own food. It was awesome. Yep. We got invited. We went to Canada. It was great. And I went also because I am French Indian. And in our country, it doesn't mean anything. But in Canada, it's called Métis.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm technically Métis, but I'm American, so it doesn't count.
Right.
That's all good. But I wanted to go meet the Métis elders because there was a huge Métis group that went to the parliament. Okay. And I was sitting with them and having a really good time. And one of the elders looked at me and said, so you're pagan? And I said, or so you're Wiccan? I said, yes. And he said, I still have most of my ancestral lands. I know all of my ancestral songs. I know all of my ancestral stories. But they took everything from you. You don't have your land. You don't have your language. You don't know your rituals or your stories. And one day you won't be so proud that you'll be able to admit that to yourself. Well, have a nice day. And then he walked off.
Oh, snap.
And he's right. He's right. We don't want to believe that. We're like, no, we've got everything we need. We don't.
No.
We're still working on it.
Yep. I think that as we get more experienced and older, that's very evident. Like, it started to become very evident to me that the resources for my listeners, for the pagans that I live around, there's nothing. And if we were thinking about doing a ritual for Beltane in the park, not too far from here. And we were like, well, one, we can't have an open fire. We can't have a fire, even in a fire pit. They're not going to allow that. So what would they think if we were all out there dancing and having a good time? Would we get shut down? I know the pride activities there often get protesters. It's a small town and we still get that. And we're not protected. We would most likely be asked to leave because we're a disturbance in this area, because they have the rule over us.
So one of the things that like the ATC is really good with is giving legitimacy to events like that. Because if you go, here's my paperwork, here's the legal code that says I'm allowed to be here, right, and then you don't, it's difficult. So I teach a lot with story. So we're in Arkansas, in a place called Lake City, where there is neither a lake nor a city. It is very small. It is a very depressed area right outside of Jonesboro. And there's an ATC affiliate there that does a lot of work to take care of that community, including donating hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of freshly grown vegetables to the food banks and the elderly meal programs and the school free lunch programs. And they take care of that town in a lot of ways. Well, there's also like 4 Christian churches in that town that aren't real hip on Southern Delta Church of Wicca. And which is such an evangelical pagan name for a church. I love it. Southern Delta Church of Wicca, run by Terry Riley. And Terry Riley is a very evangelical sort of pagan. So, but we're at a festival, or we went there for an event because we traveled the circuit of the affiliates as the leaders to just make sure everyone has what they need and lay eyes on us every year or so. And, it's fun. We go, people will wait to do elevations till we're there and stuff. It's really neat. Anyway, It's an honor to get to do stuff like that. So we're at this event and we are clapping because it's one of those things. Yeah. And the police show up because our clapping is too loud. We're being too joyous. So this happens. If you're going to run a pagan group, if you're going to circle in public, you're going to deal with this. Yeah. You have to have someone whose job it is to leave circle and deal with the police. That is their only job. If the police come, they interface. Yes. They know what to do. So, and you keep doing what you're doing while they interface. You do not stop. If you stop, you give credence to what the legal directive that the police have given. Yes. So you just need to give them time to look it up because they don't know. A lot of times they don't know. And they look it up and they go, oh, okay, fine. They're not breaking any laws. Right. We're good. So we ended up snapping our fingers for the rest of the ritual instead of clapping. Well, the next morning, Terry's really upset and he's like, they're right. I looked at the local code. It says this. We're not allowed to be loud. They can shut us down. And we said, yeah, no, because here's the federal law that says that no local government's allowed to make a restrictive rule that stops you from worshiping. Yeah. It's called the RLUPA. So RLUPA, I believe is what it is. It's either RLUPA or it's the RFRA. It might be RFRA, but it's the national RFRA, not the local RFRAs. Those local RFRAs are they're dog whistles for racists. Anyway. Yes. We told him what his actual rights were, and he went to the mayor and said, you have stepped on my rights. And the mayor called Jonesboro to the attorney general, and the attorney general said, I will not even listen to this case. He's right. You tell him he can do what he wants. And hung up. And then they had to bring in the sheriff and be like, you leave Mr. Riley alone. The attorney general said so.
That is so, I love hearing these stories. I could literally just sit here for hours and listen to this because I don't get to experience any of this here. Like the closest thing I got to do as far as activism is do a BLM, observance. And that was literally, they're like observing. So we got to sit on a corner and get yelled at. But that's really the only thing. Not a whole lot of people around here that want to or okay with rocking the boat. I don't care.
We drove to Standing Rock.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah, we heard that winter was coming on and they were worried about not having enough wood because there's not a lot of wood out there. And we got a cord of wood, put it in a truck and drove it from Washington to South Dakota, to Cannonball, South Dakota.
Right, yeah.
And dropped it off. We stayed for about 2 hours. We were going to camp, but we felt like it would be a drain on resources for people. Our people said, you're not allowed to get on the front line. You can drop this off and you can watch.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I want to take hoses.
Yeah.
and rubber bullets. And they're like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So if we couldn't contribute and keep contributing, we left. Right. And so it was an honor to get to give resources. So
that is pretty cool. I love that. So I have some questions. So if somebody listening is thinking, you know what, my area has enough pagans, we have enough like secret groups that we all would love a place to be able to go and gather and do these things, but I'm not Wiccan. How does that work? Does that not work with the Tabernacle?
So it's really on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
If your mission lines up as an eclectic pagan group with the mission of the ATC, then it probably is okay.
Okay.
We our paperwork is set up in such a way that it's about promoting pagan interests and not just Wiccan interests.
Okay.
Though we are set up as a Wiccan group.
Okay.
Like we're set up under Wiccan hierarchy as the mother church, but we also don't we don't have a Aquarian Tabernacle tradition.
Yes. Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Like when we came from Wise, Covenant of Wise, we brought our tradition with us and we work our tradition. And I'm sure that when the next group comes in after us to take the mantle, that they will either decide, because they'll be in charge.
Right.
As long as it follows a traditional Wiccan path of God, goddess, Sabbats, moons.
Yeah.
Right. Which actually we're rocking the boat on that. We at Beltane, we don't use God, goddess, male, female. We use projective, receptive. And if you're feeling projective and you want to project your energy, then you get on this side. And if you're feeling receptive and you want to receive energy, you get on this side. And that's how we do it. Because it takes a projective energy and a receptive energy to come together to create. Be it sperm and egg, or if it's exploding star and gravity well to create another planet, it just takes projection and reception. And I think that is where Wicca's going to have to go to fight an extremist bent.
I think so.
I'm smelling. We want to pretend like it can't happen to Wicca, that it only happens to the Asatru and stuff, but it can totally come into our world, and it'll happen through gender identity politics. I'm telling you.
I think I actually did an episode, and we talked about that. Like, what is the gender terms that? Because the ones we use are antiquated. Like the ones we use a lot of times in paganism are no longer valid because we're evolving, and our language should be evolving as well. And so I've been actually trying to do that in my own practice, is instead of thinking of like the sun as a masculine energy, although I will refer to it that way, I think of it as an action or a giving of energy source. And
because Amaterasu's the sun.
Yeah.
Amaterasu's a woman. Demeter's the sun. Demeter's a woman.
Exactly.
But they do push themselves out into their world.
They do.
They are action. They are projection. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one thing that I'm trying to change my language around so that I'm inclusive and no one feels like, well, shit, I'm non-binary. I don't identify as male or female. Where do I fit in paganism? And so I really am trying, when I do my group talks and things like that in our coven, I try to change my language. And it's going to take a while because I'm going to be 42 years old. I've been doing this a while. So I fail often, but I am trying. And I think that other listeners, out there that are doing leadership, they're in a leadership role. I think it's our responsibility to change our language to meet the times.
I just got yelled at on Twitter because I tried to explain that the concept of appropriation. I don't disagree with the concept of appropriation. It happens, but it's a specific word, and there is an implied nature of harm that happens in appropriation. So just stealing something from somebody isn't appropriating. You have to actually actively try to harm that culture that you took it from. Like when Christians steal pagan holidays and then say you're a devil worshiper if you don't worship it the way they say. That's appropriation. But taking something and using it in my personal practice without asking from a closed group is theft.
Yeah.
But if I'm not using it to hurt those people, it's not appropriation. And this person said, oh, and now you're trying to change the way people use words? And I'm like, isn't that language is mutable, man? Like, I don't even know what to say.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if we were in the 1800s, we definitely wouldn't be speaking the way we are because our language has evolved and we have evolved. There's new concepts and constructs like now than clear back then. So it's inevitable that our language will change. And I think that's good.
Priest, priestess, and priestex.
Oh, I love that.
It's priest, EX, or EXX, priestex. That's the non-binary one that's been floating around our community.
Okay.
I really like projective and receptive.
I do too.
There are times where, like you, let's talk about this right now. Mm-hmm. You got a hold of me as a projective force and said, I want to talk to you. And I, as a receptive force, went, I am totally open to that. Let's make this happen. And now we have a reality where we are doing the thing that you projected into me.
Exactly. And I think that concept described that way makes it a lot easier for people to go, oh, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I feel like some of my, not like the neurodivergent, because I have ADHD, I have all kinds of issues. So, but they're fine. To me, they help me. But my neurodivergent mind does not like black and white. It does not like male and female. So for me, when I started changing things, I'm like, oh, well, this makes a lot more sense. To me, it feels better when I'm doing spells, when I pick herbs to do things. It's no longer so much, oh, well, this is a masculine herb and this is a feminine herb. It's like you said, receptive and projective instead. And that feels so much better.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, and another thing, if you use Cunningham's, I don't know if you use Cunningham's magical herbs encyclopedia, which is awesome. If you don't have it out there, I'm not endorsed by them, but I endorse them.
It's a great book.
Then you can break it down even further. Instead of saying male, female, you can be like, here's a mercurial herb, here's a Venusian herb, here's a Saturnalian herb, and fire and water. And I love, that's one of the best resource books on the planet.
It really, really is. And I'm a plant nerd. So to me, working with plants is always about the planet involved. If there's any deity connection. Like I really think about the entire whole of the herb instead of just whether it's female or masculine. So yes, highly recommend that book. If you all are out there, you don't have it, it's great to have.
We actually run a nonprofit called Save the Seeds Foundation. I don't know if you saw my posts about that on TikTok, but it's a seed saving nonprofit that promotes the planting and recapturing of heirloom seeds. We talk about how, Monsanto has been suing organic farmers for cross-pollination. And so Save the Seeds Foundation, though it is its own nonprofit, is backed by the Aquarium Tabernacle Church. So at the end of the day, if they come to one of our plots and say that we have cross-pollinated, we will counter with, this is our religion. This is literally our goddess because we worship Demeter, and you have infringed on our religious rights. So let's take this one to court. So we're hoping we don't ever have to do that, but it is a protection. And we also teach people, keep your seed bank, but keep another seed bank under the stones of your church. Because if they come for it there, your pagan church has ground to be like, no, it has an extra set of protection that you don't have.
That is so cool. See, all of this is, I've been trying to figure out. So you're spiritual, like in your spirituality, we have cycles, just like the world has cycles, the earth has cycles. And I feel like I have ended one cycle and I'm going through the next cycle of my involvement in my spiritual life. And this is something I have been struggling with for a few months about, I want an organization, but the rebel in me is like, don't do that, because I'm an eclectic pagan and I can't. So I have this block moving forward. And honestly, I feel like this was like totally divine. This had to happen. Like you said, this is what I asked for. I said, I don't know how to move forward. Show me what the hell I'm supposed to do. And then I was scrolling through TikTok at like 3 a.m. because, I can't sleep. And I saw I follow your TikToks and I was like, you know what? I would love to hear that perspective because honestly, I've never heard a perspective like yours. I've only heard the voices that I hear the most in the pagan community are those who are an eclectic solitary practitioner. So I think this is very important to hear for everybody.
Well, and a lot of those people make it so, not everybody. No. I don't speak in absolutes, obviously.
Right.
Except that sometimes I do because I don't speak in absolutes. Anyway, a lot of those people make it really uncomfortable to be a person that wants to be in a group.
Yes.
And, we're doing our best to, again, I'm sorry, let me take half a step back. It just makes me rub my forehead when I think about all the things people want and how they constantly fight against the institutions trying to give it to them.
Yes.
They're like, we want good leaders that will tell us what to do. Oh, not a seminary. We don't want, no, not a seminary. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. We want job opportunities. Oh, you're teaching people how to read tarot cards. Oh, no, you shouldn't be charging for tarot cards. Mm-hmm. We want, XYZ, but don't give us ABC. Yep. And it's very difficult. It's a constant reaching. We say that it's a constant reaching out of your hand while they're slapping you. So we say in tongue in cheek that in paganism, some creatures eat their babies. We eat our parents in paganism. Yeah. We're like, oh, you learned a bunch of stuff. I'll eat your brain and get what you know without having to actually learn.
Yes.
It's not everybody.
But yes, that makes a lot of sense. And that's something that I'm going through. I'm like, I want so badly to have an organization, one, to protect what we want to do in this area because there's nothing. And then the rebel, the anti-institutionalist in me is like, yeah, but that's doing what, I left. And that's just my Christian baggage dragging all the way back from, my childhood and showing up now in my 40s. So it's something that I know that I have to deal with in order to move forward, which it is what it is.
May I give you a perspective on this?
Yes, please.
The church has made you feel that way so that you would not rise up and do your own in a way that was actually healthy for the community.
That is a very good perspective. That makes it more comfortable.
It's but like, yes. I have a friend who's super anti-patriarchy.
Yes.
They're also super anti-spider. And we have these big spiders out here called European house spiders. Yes. And one of the things they do as a mating display is they'll come out, the male will, and the males are big too. Mm-hmm. They'll come out, and if you're scared of them, like if you're like, it makes them more attractive to their mate. And so I told that to my friend, and they were like, I will never be afraid of them again. Damn the patriarchy. Like, okay, there you go. But it's the same thing with the churches. They've made you hate the word church, hate the idea of tithing, and hate the idea of having a building and fellowshipping. And so that has stopped you, me, them, and that person from starting a real pagan church community and raising money together.
Exactly. And I think that's something, honestly, a lot of small communities like this across the US, I think they need, especially with one of my biggest platforms is mental health. Mental health and getting the support you need. And I feel like the last, shit show of a few years we've had really did its toll on mental health. And there's Christian resources here where you could go to if you pay into their little whatever it is, and you can get health care and you can get mental health care. But there's nothing for those who feel like they would be very uncomfortable doing that. So that would be another reason for me to like at least discuss this with some other people in the area, because it would be great to have some kind of resource for people, even if they just need somebody to freaking talk to in their time of need, which I try to provide, but it's really hard for me to let the entire, Tri-County area know that, hey, this is my phone. If you want to talk to me, if you have issues, I'm not trained, but I will listen. And I'm actually there's a pagan group in Denver that's offering suicide prevention and training for pagan leaders or pagan people that are in the area. So I'm actually taking that kind of the end of the month. So I'm really excited to be able to do that. And I'm going to see if a few other people in the area would like to take it as well, because that's been something that has come up in our coven, as well as suicidal thoughts due to just being burnt out and overstressed.
This year has taken a real toll on people.
Yes.
And yeah, it's been really difficult to watch. I have watched pagan leader after pagan leader after pagan leader be like, after a year of not having people coming to my house, I'm closing my church. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Or I feel like all of the time I put into the community was for nothing, and so I'm quitting. Or and not just ATC folk. I mean, this is
right.
I mean, we've had a couple. We have had two churches now be like, after having a year off of people not coming and disrespecting my house and causing fights, because pagans, I mean, if you're getting people together, there's going to be dynamics.
Oh, absolutely.
But they're like, I'm done. I'm retiring.
Aww.
I'm shuttering the doors, and it's sad. It's sad. Our people have a lot of needs, but they have been so screwed over in so many ways that they don't contribute in the way that will get those needs met for them.
Absolutely.
I want to sit here all day and answer the phone and help people.
Yeah.
That means I need you to buy me my snacks.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't mean to sound flippant. It's just true. It's why tithing started in the first place, so that there would always be someone there to talk to you and to help you with your spiritual issues. And we have them. Yeah. We have them.
Nice. Do you have like a hotline for people to call?
We actually, if you go to atcwicca.org, we don't have a quote unquote hotline, though the church is open from 10 to 8 Pacific time every day. And the phone number is on the website. It's 360-793-1945. And you can totally call. We do our best to answer the phone while that's going on. If you've got problems with your local governments, if you want to talk about a mental health issue, if you have a need that can wait and isn't an emergency, you should go to the website and sign up for a 10-minute consultation talk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay. This is like the best resources I have found. Like, you and your organization, this is like the best organization resource wise and public presence wise that I have seen for pagan members.
We worked really hard.
Yeah, it sounds like all the things you were telling me, I'm like, holy hell, do you have like how many staffers do you think how many people are at this church that you're at that help with these issues? Like, does it take a village, or is it just,
So there's an archpriest and an archpriestess, and then we have a high council. So we have a high summoner. And what the high council does, though, is like, we give a general layout of how a church looks, right? Summoner, maiden, high priestess, high priest, right? Okay. Purse warden, right. Scribe. And then we have a high scribe, a high purse warden, a high summoner, a high maiden. And what they do is help the maidens of the other covens, help the summoners of the other covens, help the purse wardens of the other covens be legitimate. Okay. Right. So, but we are a completely, actually, I don't get to say that anymore. We are not a completely volunteer organization. I don't get paid for what I do. Okay. My wife does not get paid for what she does. My wife does Mary Kay Cosmetics to make the money that buys us our snacks.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So, and she reads tarot cards.
Nice.
So that's how we make our actual money. I get a small honorarium for teaching at the church of about $200 a month. Whoa. For teaching at the school. Right. I teach animal magic. So anyway, ooh, cool. But I would say we have a Black Cord Council, which is all the leaders of the different groups, but the participation level, there's probably 12 to 15 people working, and then 10 to 15 other people that cycle in that might be students or things like that. But we just hired, the seminary just got solvent enough that we were able to hire our dean, who has been doing it for free with a master's of education for the past 12 years for free. Oh my and we just hired her on with a real legitimate, can pay her bills and buy her own snacks salary. And since awesome. Doing that like a month and a half ago, we've already increased our studentship because of her being able to focus everything on building it. It's awesome.
That is amazing. That is amazing work and amazing progress for you to be able to pay people to do that. If anybody would like to donate, how do they do that?
PayPal.me/ATC Wicca.
Okay. And, I will make sure I have that also in the notes.
We have a GoFundMe right now. Okay, so let's talk about the big thing we're working on.
Yeah.
We want to build a city.
Sign me up.
Okay. So from the work we did with Demeter's Garden and going around and telling people to plant their stuff, yes. Demeter's like, I want my city back. I want Eleusis rebuilt. I want you to build new Eleusis. And so we looked at Eleusis now, where the great cult of Demeter and Persephone and the story of the great mother and the Hyros Gamos, the great marriage, was told for 3,000 unbroken years, is now a gasoline refinery.
Oh my God.
And she doesn't like it.
No.
And so she wants land bought and schools and fire stations and sheriffs and all the stuff that a normal city would have, but she wants it to be built on the idea of protecting the land and working with the land instead of dominating the land. Right. And so we have a GoFundMe right now that is raising money. We're trying to get $2.5 million because that is the starting point of buying real land. Does Zoom have a chat? It does. I'll put this in this chat right here.
That works.
That's the link to the GoFundMe. That is the most important monetary work that we are doing right now, because it's not just about having land for a city so we all as pagans can live somewhere cool. Okay. It's about having a place where that thing just went off and it mucked with my brain, and now I'm going to need 1 second to remember what the heck I was saying.
That's okay.
I don't remember. Oh, now I remember. Thank you. So it's not just about having land for a city. It's about having land for Demeter's Gardens so that we can grow and save and share and teach people about their food supply and getting their sovereignty back by owning their food supply instead of giving their sovereignty away to the people that grow food and prepackage it for us. And it will be national moot land for Spiral Scouts, so that the Spiral Scouts can all get together and have an actual place to go earn badges together as a community. So there's a lot of good that it's going to do.
That sounds like utopia.
Everywhere's got its problems, and we'll have our issues, but it'll be a place where we can make our own problems and fix it with our own solutions.
Yes. I love that. So do you have an idea where you're going to do this at? Like, say, like, dream big. You got your money. Now you can pick where you want to go. Do you have an idea?
The Pacific Northwest of Washington State. It is a microclimate. What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, I want to visit there so bad. For like the last 2 years, we've been wanting to visit, but COVID. So haven't gotten.
Well, when you get your shots and you're able to come this way, you make sure to stop, let us know, and you can stop by and tour the grounds. And hopefully by then, we just got a little bit of land donated, about half an acre to gardens on. So that's all tilled up and we're putting gardens in it, and slow but steady. But yeah, right here it's an interesting microclimate that stays very verdant when the rest of the country is in drought. So the Pacific Northwest is what it is because the Cascade Mountain Range comes down from Alaska all the way down to the top of California, and it makes this wall, and it captures the wet, warm air that's coming in off the ocean, and it keeps this place kind of warm, even in the winter, and very wet.
Nice. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I have all of this, all your links and everything, so that if anyone wants to look up the ATC or the GoFundMes and any of the donations that you need, they can do that. I'm going to post the phone number as well to the church if somebody wants to do that, or the link to get the 10-minute, kind of like little interview thing that you got going on. That way they can actually take this episode and the information, and if they want to use it or support or go take action on this, like you said, an action, they can do so. Then we'll make it easy for them.
Thank you.
Trying to think of anything else that I would need. I took a bunch of notes.
I've really enjoyed being here this morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I have too. This has been such an enlightening conversation, and it really does. Like I'm, not everything is a sign. I'm not one of those like, oh my God, my shoe fell. It's a sign. But I do feel like some interactions are definitely divinely guided, and you get exactly what you need when you are least expecting it. So I feel like this is definitely a conversation I needed.
Well, I would be happy to come back and talk again.
Yay!
This was a lot of fun. I had a really good time.
Yes,
And if anyone out there is listening, I'm pretty friendly. So if you want to talk to me.
Yes, please.
It was easy for DaNae. Do you pronounce it DaNae?
I do. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, it was, DaNae just got a hold of me, and I was like, heck yeah, because I'm all about sharing. So thank you for giving me a shot.
Yes, I love this. I love that. And you are the perfect, like, your energy and the way you present things is very passionate and knowledgeable, which is needed in a public face for any kind of organization like yours.
I can get over passionate sometimes. You talk about mental health. I don't talk about this very often. In fact, I don't think I've ever talked about it on interviews. So you'll be the first, but
okay.
I have complex PTSD. So I had a wildly difficult childhood, and it definitely lives with me. The difference between PTSD and complex PTSD is the difference between a single episode that you fall back to and a series of life that was so bad that you're stuck in it forever. Yes. Like the best CPTSD example I ever heard was when the Hulk says, remember when you asked me, what do I do when I get angry? I'm always angry. And then he jumps, that's CPTSD. And so I've had to work really hard and really through my craft, through working with shadow work and definitely working with shadow work has helped me, because I also have hyperactivity disorder. So those two things together can be a recipe for boom. And instead, I have tried my best to make it a recipe for impassioned understanding. And I try, so I try.
You have a very unique way of looking at shadow work with your disorder and with your mental health struggles. And I feel like more of us, I'm very outward with mine, and I go to therapy. I'm actually on medication. I don't like being on medication, but for me, this is what has changed my life, is the combo of those two things. So I'm very transparent, so that because I feel like it's kind of a taboo thing still. It's 2021 and we're like, it's still a taboo to like go to therapy and say, yes, I need help, and I take medication because that's what works for me. So that's one of my platforms, is making sure that I'm completely transparent. So I appreciate you coming out and saying that, because I think if one person can feel less alone and feel more empowered to go, okay, I'm gonna set up a therapy appointment because I'm not doing well, then it's totally worth it.
Well, and medicine, one of the things about Wicca is that we believe in doctors. We're not anti-science in Wicca. In fact, most of the stuff they're giving you, they learned from our medicine people long ago and then just kept going with it.
Yes.
So medicine is good. If your doctor gives you medicine, you should take it.
Yes.
One of the reasons I don't usually talk about it is not because of my stigma with it, but when people find out that I don't take medicine and that I have used a lot of therapy work and shadow work to get rid of the explosive nature of it, really, I get flack. They'll be like, are you saying we don't need medicine? I'm like, no, I'm not saying we don't need medicine. I'm saying I didn't use medicine. Come on now.
I think everybody's mental health journey is very specific to each person, because no brain is wired the same. Yeah, exactly. And I tried very hard to deal with my issues that I had without medication, because I was one of those who was like, I had a stigma about taking a medication to fix what I was going on. And eventually my doctor was like, try it, please. Try it for 6 weeks and see if, she's like, if you try it and it doesn't work in 6 weeks, then we'll revisit it. And I was working through shadow work while I was doing it and going to therapy. And I was a different person from day 1 to the end of week 6. And that's what sold me, for me, because I was suicidal. I could not get out of that hole that I was in, and that had helped me. So
I get lucky. I don't get suicidal tendencies. I get yelly and big. I go supernova. My energy explodes, and then trying to bring that back in is difficult. Hard. And then I get embarrassed, and the embarrassment just fuels. And that's really the most difficult part for me, is the embarrassment that I feel when I have an episode. And so I've tried to let that help fuel me to not be embarrassed.
Right. I think that everybody there's no human on earth. I believe there's no human on earth that has perfect mental health, because we are human and we are fallible, and external things happen to us. Even if we don't recognize that it was trauma, I think everybody has something, and having the compassion and empathy to see that in other people, I think, is important. So the work that you do and sharing, I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. I try to be a warrior of truth and love, like Vash the Stampede from Trigun.
There you go.
So, and really, when I have the thing that'll set me off the quickest is watching someone who can't protect themselves get maligned.
Yes. I am the same way. I call it my mama bear comes out, and I don't have control over my mouth at that point. So
I'm Dionysus. I worship Dionysus. My last name's Dionne. Yeah. It's just part of who I am. And so sometimes I turn into a lion and drive those around me insane.
It happens.
It happens.
Yep. I actually have a partner that's very level-headed. I describe if anybody's ever around me, I'm like a tornado. I'm a controlled tornado for most of the time, but that's who I am. And my husband is so grounded.
Right.
he can like rein me in and like soothe the tornado a little bit and keep me controlled, which is, we feed off each other, which is perfect for our partnership. So I'm forever thankful for him for taming my tornado.
Like, yeah, good partners. You can't do it without a good partner.
No.
And by it, I mean like
Life.
Well, it's difficult.
Yeah, it is. Having a supportive partner in life, and a lot, like, he's not pagan, but he supports everything I do. Like on the full moon, he just laid outside with me and let me do my thing. He just wanted to be present. And like last with Beltane, he just laid in the grass and like just experienced what I was doing, which is very freeing to be able to express myself as a solitary practitioner with somebody watching. That was a big thing for me. I'm like, you can't watch me do this. Like, that's just weird. But he's very non-judgmental, and he just experiences the energy, which he enjoys. He doesn't participate, but he enjoys it.
Right on. We got to, for the first time since I met my wife, we spent a Beltane where we weren't living at a public church where everyone, now we are a fertility religion, and we are very sex positive just as a people. And so when we're done with the maypole, we tell everybody to go find a spot. Yeah. Peel off. Find who you want, peel off, and go find a spot and bring fertility to the land. Yeah. And so it's a lot of hiding in nooks around the property. And there was no one here this year. And so when we were done, the Temple of Nine Wells, ATC, which is the Salem, literally the Salem witches, are ATC.
Okay.
Temple of Nine Wells. They're awesome. They're doing public online rituals all year. Oh my gosh. Bella and I are a part of. You should come. They're awesome. Yes. That would be great. So we did the ritual. And when it was done, we went out to the circle and there was no one here. And it was a beautiful sunny day. And we got to consecrate the circle. And it was one of the best Beltanes I've had in a long time. It was awesome.
That is see, that is beautiful. That's the one thing. We moved from the country into town because of, life. And that's one thing I miss, is being able to go outside and be naked and do the things outside in nature. So we're trying to get outside of the house more and get out in we have pastures. We're agricultural community. Everybody raises cattle and crops and things like that. So my husband has a ranch, and we're like, I have to get out, and I want to like be outside and be able to be skyclad and do the things I miss. So I'm trying to get back into that and being intentional about going and making the effort to get off my property and go do something.
So I have a grand student, because my student lives out by you. I'm like, are you in Lincoln? She's like, well, no, Red Grail's like 3 hours across the state from me.
Yeah,
So she's over near you.
Ooh, that would be so cool.
And I'm going to, when this comes out, I'm going to point her to it and be like, hey, I just did a podcast with someone who's over by you. Now she's in formal training, so she'd have to get special dispensation to circle with you or anything like that. Cause we follow the rules and that kind of stuff when it comes to student teacher. But we also have the rule of always say yes unless there's a good no.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And even if you have to say no, find a way to lump it into a yes in some way.
Yep. Yeah. I love that. Yes. I would like to be able to get something set up at some point out this way, because I've been asked, are you going to start leading circles? Or are we going to start doing stuff like together, like physically being able to have a place to go? I've kind of been pushing it off because I just mentally wasn't in a space where I could support other people and do the podcast and support the online coven. It's just a lot. But I'm getting to that point in my life where I've learned to delegate.
Good job.
And I'm getting, I'm parts of the podcast I have outsourced, which is great. So I'm in a place in my life where I feel like by midsummer, I will be able to have the mental space to be able to do something tangible, something physical. So we may have to get together.
If you need help, look at our stuff.
Yes, I'm going to be the rest of my day. Actually, it's nice, so I'll probably go outside and ride horses. But when I come back in and I'm tired, I'm going to look online and go through your website and just get my juices, my thought processes going and see what I can come up with.
Right on.
Cool
we're excited to help.
Well, thank you so much for this interview. It has been absolutely wonderful. I know that everybody is going to love this and listen to it more than once because there's so much information packed into this one. So I really, really appreciate it. And if anybody else wants to get a hold of you, you're on Instagram and you're on TikTok and you're on Twitter as well, right?
I am, but you should stay away from Twitter unless you want to see my political discourse.
And that's okay.
And me completely trash the Pittsburgh Steelers because I don't like them.
That's awesome. Well, I will make sure I have all of your socials linked so they can just click and go and connect with you if they want to. And I'll also have all the links we talked about. I think I have, let me make sure I got everything. I got Saves and Seeds, atcwicca.org. I have your GoFundMe, the donate page through PayPal. And I think
Viral Scouts.
Viral Scouts. And then I wrote down, I think that's it. That's
WiccanSeminary.edu.
Yep, I did that. Yeah, that one is right here.
We also run Wicca Press. So if you've written a book that's Wiccan based and you want to talk to a publisher, we're not a huge publisher, but we do give, I think, some of the best kickbacks to our authors pay-wise.
Oh, nice.
Well, we're not really in it to make $1 million as a publisher. We're in it to help publish people that want their Wiccan books and pagan books published. We also run Wiccan Cauldron, which is a store. And we absolutely will work with people that make pagan items that are willing to drop ship them when they order them from the website. Yeah. Drop ship them. We're all about partnering with folks. So really what the ATC does is we try to create prosperity in the pagan community.
I love that. That is awesome. Okay. All right.
Oh, Seattle Psychics Association. Sorry.
Ooh, yeah.
So Seattle Psychics Association is about to even have its own click-to-call website. It's an organization of psychics that all agree to work ethically together.
Oh, that's
none of us are here to scam people out of their money. None of us are here to be like, oh, I see death in your life. You better send me a bunch of money so I can keep it back. We don't do that kind of junk.
Good.
So, and it'll eventually have its own like teen.com or California Psychics click to call website that you can sign up. They do monthly events. It's really cool.
That is really neat. Okay.
Sorry, we do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you are a wealth of information, which this Gemini, I'm like an information like hoarder. So
I'm an Aries.
Aries. Oh, this makes sense. This makes very much sense. Okay, cool. Well, I will definitely be wanting you on again because this is absolutely awesome. I want an update on this Utopia project. And I will definitely be putting those out. I'll do a donate thing on Instagram and see if I can get a call to action there.
Oh, thank you.
I think this is important. This is important. And I know a lot of us, like you said, the tithing thing, we all get hung up on that because of church and Christianity, but everyone needs help. If you want to do good in the world, unfortunately, it costs money.
Well, we put out a thing every month that says donate to your pagan institutions. We don't care if it's us. Right. If you give it to us, we'll do good work with the money. But donate to your pagan institutions that are doing the work.
Yep. That is so cool. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Awesome, Steve. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a good day.